Beatty?
Coach Mose, another season. Just what's your excitement level as you enter this year? Maybe a little bit different expectations for this team.
It's extremely high. I'm excited for this group, the additions, the young guys, the older guys, the experience, the mindset that these guys have brought in all summer. Really excited to get going and get into camp tomorrow.
Outside additions like Desmond, Tyus, Jay Snow, etc. How will these guys allow you to change or alter or improve the way that you play offensively?
Well, the biggest piece that everyone's talked about is their ability to shoot the basketball. The space in which they provide on the floor, I think, is tremendous. Then the other side of that, though, is their leadership. Their experience, what they've done in this league, who they've been for each team that they've been on. I think that provides such great mentorship for our young guys, and also a mindset of guys that have done it throughout this league, and they can share that experience in the locker room.
As you began planning for training camp with all the changes that were made to the roster, how does this offense change? How does Desmond Bane and Tyus Jones, and then even adding some new coaches in Joe Prunty and God Shamgar, how does that change the outlook for this team on offense?
Well, I mean, we want to focus. We talked a lot this summer of our ability to convert. And, you have the number 2 defense in the NBA. You hang your hat on the defensive end, and our ability to get out in transition was high. Our ability to convert is where we have to improve. And so being able to hang our hat on the defensive end still, but get out and push the pace faster in transition after you get those stops, after you get those steals, after you make those turnovers, we've got to make sure we finish on the other end. And that's what, Desmond and Tyus have done. They did that in Memphis when they pushed the pace. They were a fast-paced team. So they understand how we need to run and how we got to get out in the open court. Adding Joe Prunty to our staff has been fantastic because he's an experienced coach who's been a head coach before, been under some phenomenal coaches, has a championship under his belt, and I just think his experience and knowledge of this game is going to be good for us. Adding God Shamgar is another key piece for us to be able to have the experience, the knowledge, the reputation he holds, and his work ethic is second to none in so many ways, and how he's respected within the game by not just the peers but the guys before him, and that's going to provide a lot of opportunities for our guys to continue to improve and develop and get better.
Coach, how you doing?
How are you?
There's many ways to build a team, and you guys have chosen to really develop the guys you drafted in a combination of adding young veterans. Talk to us about the importance of that combination to make a real run into the championship.
I really think it's always about developing. I've just talked to some guys over there, just the ability to always develop, and it's going to be in different stages. And so Jace is going to be at a different development than Paulo. But the goal of the team is about how do you get better, how do you strive to put yourself in the best position to win a championship. And each guy is on a different path, but you're going to always develop these guys to become the best version of themselves. I will always stand on that because I think that's why these guys join this league. That's why we play this game, to become the best version of yourself on this court, to compete against the best.
Coach, outside of shooting, what in your mind does this team have to do better this year than it did last year?
Well, just like I was talking to Philip, I think it is about converting in transition when you've gotten the steal, when you've gotten the stop, because you go from being a number 2 ranked defense into not being able to convert that on the other end. So I think our ability to finish possessions off the right way on the other end after we've gotten the stop or gotten the steal or gotten the rebound, putting pressure on their defense by attacking early in transition and finishing. It's a faster pace, but it's a faster pace after you've gotten the stop. You can push it all you want, but you got to make sure you're finishing on the other end.
Coach, how validating is it? OKC's coming off of the championship. You could argue that their DNA, the way that they've built their team, is similar to what y'all have been doing here. How much confidence does that breed, and how much does the team feel that they can succeed OKC?
I mean, every team in the league looks at the champion and sees how they measure up. And I think our guys have done a great job of looking at what OKC has done and seeing some of themselves in them. And our ability to just look at some of the things that they've done well, but also adding our own flavor to it. what we do, how physical we are, how big we are, the advantages we can take of certain things. I think that's a big key piece for us.
So Jamahl, how's it going? How you
Good,
doing?
how you doing? Good to see you.
Summer?
Very good summer.
Good. Question. There's a lot of expectations on the Magic this year to be one of the top teams in the league. That hasn't been the case for a few years, but it's getting up and up and up. So how do you guys handle that internally and mentally?
Well, I just told the group in the locker room, there's nobody outside of that locker room that should have higher expectations for ourselves than us. And so there's going to be a lot of things written. There's going to be a lot of people saying a lot of things about what we should and could do, but our standard is high and what we know we're capable of doing. And it starts with our everyday work, getting better every single day. Every 29 other teams are saying they want to win the NBA championship, and that's great to have. But it's the daily habits that we have to approach for us as a group, and a standard and an accountability we have to hold each other to in order to go do it.
Coach, when you first arrived, you talked about playing with pace, space, the pass. You continue to preach that. Has that approach changed at all over the years? And do you think this new roster with the new additions, personnel obviously dictates play style a little bit. Do you think the new additions will get to see the best version of that goal?
I believe so, and I'll keep repeating, having the defense that we had this past year, being number 2 in the league, but also being able to convert on the other end. A lot of it we talked about was shooting and spacing the floor that way. We did have a lot of open looks. The other side of it is once you get to stop, you have to convert on the other end. You make 2 or 3 more layups in transition, your offense changes. It changes the way teams can defend you because they know once you've gotten that stop, you're getting out and running.
Coach, a lot of talk about the expectations around this team for this season. What do you deem a successful season for this team?
We've talked about it in there. We're getting better every day. And I'll say it now on September 29th, playing our best basketball towards the end of the season. And that's going to be steps every single day. Jalen Suggs says it all the time, you continue to stack days. How many days can we stack up until that end of the season? And every game is important, every practice is important, every recovery is important. How are we getting better every single day to build to be playing our best healthy basketball at the end of the season?
Coach, you mentioned Jalen Suggs. We understand the type of high-caliber defender he is, but he just got done posting his highest scoring average before getting hurt. Mm-hmm. How encouraging is his evolution on the offensive end, and how do you envision his growth as a two-way player moving forward?
You just hit it on the head. Being one of the best two-way players in the game, being able to set the table for his teammates, because he will have the ball in his hands a ton, and knowing when to distribute, when to attack, when to make plays for others. All of those small pieces are going to be big for him. Defensively, he's already shown what he's capable of doing, and I think he has more to give. But it's going to be great to have him back on the floor, just to be able to continue to contribute his energy, his effort, his toughness for this team.
Coach, Paolo obviously being a big man and a big force here for the team. A lot of the bigger guys in the NBA that are a force for their squad have assists as part of their game. With the improvement to the shooting portion of the roster, do you think that assist aspect will be accented more in Paolo's game to lighten the load for him and to put more points up from the outside?
Yes.
And to that specifically, lightening Paolo's load, how big is that for the marathon that the season is?
It's big for us to be able to rely on different guys on any given night and everybody willing to step into their space to play the right way. He carried a heavy load, and he's willing to take that on. And no matter what the circumstances, he was willing to take that on. And so the ability to have guys around him now that can continue to help him out. You have Franz, you have Desmond, you have Jalen, you have Dell. You have guys that are willing to step into these big moments, big games, and big plays, as Franz has obviously shown over in with FIBA. I think those are big pieces of what he's capable of doing, as well as being able to take some of that burden off of P.
Thanks for letting me get that follow-up, Coach.
Thank you.
Wanted to follow up on that then. How valuable was Eurobasket for the 3 guys that played there, and what did Randy bring back to kind of help kind of integrate that element for Franz and Tristan specifically?
It's invaluable. One, the relationships that are built while Randy's over there with Tristan and Franz. Just understanding a different side of the game, the offenses that they run, the different things that other coaches are preaching, the style of play. And then the last piece, with all three of them being over there together, was that mentality. They were chasing something. You're chasing gold, and they did that together. And they talked about what it took, the adversity that they hit, what you have to do to be in that, put yourself in that situation. And I think that comes back right to what we're trying to do with the Magic. You're chasing something bigger than you, and you're doing it for the organization, you're doing it for the franchise, you're doing it for the city, you're doing it for something bigger than you, and then you enjoy that journey along the way with the teammates that you're building it with.
Coach, what can fans expect from the Orlando Magic this season that they didn't see last season?
I'm praying for health, that's one. But two, the level of excitement and intensity and physicality of a team that's going to defend all out every single night. We're going to play as hard as we can every single night. We're going to push the pace every time we touch the basketball up and down the floor. And it's going to be a game in which we're just going to try to impose our will on each opponent that we face.
Coach, you and Jeff spoke after the draft about Jace that, he's going to have to earn his playing time on such a loaded roster, I guess you could say. Just what is it that you'll be asking of him this season, and what kind of role do you envision for him moving to start the season?
We've talked about it. He's talked about it. We know each guy has their role and responsibility on this team, but for Jace, a young man who's coming in as a rookie, learn the system first. Understand when you're playing the point, understand when you're playing the two. Know who you're on the floor with. When it's time to distribute, when it's time to go make plays and score. He's got an unbelievable basketball IQ. He's fast as heck, so he can push the pace of what we're talking about. But he's a willing and wanting learner. He asks all the right questions. He's under Tyus and figuring out what he can do from an 11-year vet. And I think that's going to be great for him this year.
Coach, you talk about the additions of Joe Prunty as well as God Shamgod, and defensively you guys are phenomenal. But from the offensive standpoint, with Joe Prunty working with Giannis, and you also have God Shamgod working with guys like Kyrie and Luka, have there been conversations where they're saying, listen, I think this is how we can utilize our two-star players that we have here in Orlando similarly or well as differently in terms of expansion of the games of Paolo, Franz, and the others?
Absolutely. I think you can take something from both of them. Obviously, Sham has worked with Kyrie, Luka, Porzingis, Harrison Barnes, some of the great ones, some of the great basketball players, and taking something from each one of those guys. One, their work ethic, their leadership, the skills that they have on the court, and just the consistent routine that each one of those guys had. I think that's going to be very important. Joe Prunty, obviously working with some of the great players and winning championships and working with some of the great coaches. He's got some unbelievable basketball ideas offensively, and so he brings that to the table, and it's just being able to implement that on top of the things that we did well last year.
Coach, last year's offense primarily run through Franz and Paolo on the ball. Can you provide any insight into how the playbook opens up with the addition of Desmond Bane, let alone Suggs coming back, just in terms of setting up plays for Bane off ball, where maybe the primary goal of the play is to get that three-point shot for Bane more so than...
Yeah, I think with Jalen being back on the floor as well as Desmond here, you have quick decision makers, you have ball handlers that can also make plays. And so when you have that, you have 4 or 5 guys on the court at one time that can go make something happen. And I think that takes a lot of the pressure off of Franz and Paolo to try to create more than they need to. That the ball is going to hit their hands after it's shifted side to side, and they have a big-time three-point threat, a big-time playmaker in Desmond Bane as well as Jalen. So I think those are going to be big key pieces for us moving forward. Thank you all. Appreciate it.